Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to do an unboxing and overview of the Unihertz Jelly 2. So this is a successor to the original Jelly phone, which I did an unboxing and video of back in 2017, 3 years ago. So now 3 years later we have the successor. So this is a box that it comes with, very simple box, very small. And the reason why it's small is because the original Jelly phone and the Jelly 2, they're meant to cater to a niche audience, mainly the audience that really wants a small phone, right? So over the years, as we know, the trend has been for phones to get bigger and bigger and the screen sizes to be larger, right? But there are, I would say, not an insignificant amount of people like me who really wants to have a small phone that can also get stuff done as well. I'm not talking about like a feature phone or something like that. We want a phone running the latest version of Android that has decent specs, can perform pretty well, and has a small size, so that's more portable, right? So that we can fit this in more places. So recently, the Apple iPhone 12 mini came out, which I think for most people, if they want a really good small phone, the iPhone 12 mini is probably the way to go. Now the Jelly phone spec-wise is not going to match up to the iPhone 12 mini because this is a flagship Apple phone, right? But I will say that for people who really want the smallest phone possible, right, that's running the latest version of Android, the Jelly phone 2 is going to be even smaller than whatever, than the iPhone 12 mini and whatever other small phones that there are on the market. So I'm going to do the unboxing right now. Okay, so it comes with the manual, right? It's a quick start guide and the manual. Just going to double check. We get a... What is this one? Oh yeah, it's a screen protector, right? User guide, warranty guide, and a SIM card removal tool. And that's what we get in this nice outer packaging right here. Very simple. And then we get the Jelly phone 2 itself. It actually comes in a case, in a nice silicone case. And then we get, this is the charger, right? It's your standard wall wart right here. And then you also get cable. You get a lanyard. We haven't seen lanyards for a long time, actually. Back in the day, phones used to have these lanyard loops that you can slide, you know, kind of cell phone charm through. You don't really see that anymore, but it's interesting this one does come with a lanyard. Okay, that's cool. And then you get the USB-C cable, actually USB-A to USB-C. So that's all pretty standard. And that's pretty much it that comes in the box. Now, this phone is not a expensive phone at all. It's kind of a budget phone. I bought it for 160 bucks, right? On Kickstarter, I backed it. And this is the phone itself. You can see just how small it is, right? So again, the iPhone 12 mini is pretty much the gold standard for small phones right now, right? And this is the Jelly phone 2. You can see just how smaller it is, right? It is a 3-inch phone, whereas the iPhone 12 mini is a 5.4-inch phone. So obviously the screen size is going to be a lot smaller on the Jelly phone 2. But just to give you a rundown versus the original Jelly phone, okay? The original Jelly phone had a 2.45-inch screen. This one has a 3-inch screen. Original Jelly phone had a 240 by 432 resolution. This one has 480 by 854. The Jelly phone 1 had 2 megapixel front-facing camera, 8 megapixel back-facing camera. This one is an 8 megapixel front-facing camera and 16 megapixel back camera. So they doubled the specs on the camera. 950 milliamp hour battery on the original Jelly phone, and this one has a 2000 milliamp hour battery. So we should see a lot better battery life out of the Jelly phone 2. And of course the operating system gets an upgrade too. The original Jelly phone ran Android 7. This one runs Android 10, which is not the latest, but it's close. The latest is Android 11, but in Jelly 2's defense, not a lot of phones actually run Android 11 right now. And of course, the CPU, this one is a Helio P60 octa-core 2 gigahertz CPU. Original Jelly phone had 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage. This one triples the RAM up to 6 gigabytes, and the storage is 128 gigabytes, right? Which is, you know, many times more than the 16 that you get from the original. So yes, an upgrade in pretty much every way. I think I don't have the original Jelly phone anymore, but I think it will be slightly bigger but ever so slightly bigger than the original Jelly phone. So you're not losing too much, right, of the portability. And honestly, if you're okay carrying a 2.45-inch phone, you're going to be okay carrying a 3-inch phone, right? There's not too much difference there. Just this one's going to be an upgrade in the hardware and display and the camera. Basically, all the specs get an upgrade. So we can take a look, right? All right, so this is the Jelly 2, and some interesting things here. The capacitive buttons down here, right? You have a home button, and then you have these two other buttons right here. We haven't seen this in Android phones for a while. This used to be a feature of a lot of older Android phones, right? You used to see this, but I haven't seen this in a while for newer Android phones. If I remember correctly, so this is home button. This is usually the menu button, and then this is the back button, although you can configure that in Android. But I think for older Android phones, that's usually how it's set up. So it's kind of a return to this old style of having this capacitive bottom row down here. And then you have an 8-megapixel front-facing camera, right? Huge improvement over the original. Then on the right side, you have a power button. This is a programmable key. You can assign this to launch any app that you want. Could be YouTube, could be Maps, could be camera, could be music player, pretty much anything. This is also a feature that a lot of older Android phones had as well. You have a SIM card tray right here, but also I believe it takes in micro SD as well. So yes, this does have expandable storage, which is also cool. And then the USB-C charger is down at on this side, interestingly enough, not on the bottom, where it usually is on phones. So, I'm not sure, maybe they didn't have space down here or something. So it's on the side here. So there's USB-C charging, and then there's a fingerprint sensor here, right, which is really nice to have, because now I believe the original Jelly phone did not have anything, right? So now we have a much easier way to log in. It's more in line with modern phones, right? Even better than modern phones, actually, because now we're living in an era where Face ID doesn't work that well because we wear masks. So I think the fingerprint sensor is actually much appreciated here. All right, so Unihertz is the company. This is their they made a few different products before. Jelly was probably the first Kickstarter I backed, but they also had the Unihertz Titan, which is kind of a BlackBerry Passport clone. Well, it's a rugged version of the BlackBerry Passport that's updated with Android. And then they have the Atom and Atom XL, which are kind of smaller devices as well. But the Jelly Phone 2 is the second device I backed from them. And then finally on the left side we have the volume rocker. So that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, we have a headphone jack here as well. So we gotta mention that you do have the headphone jack, which is always appreciated. So that's pretty much it for the features on the Jelly Phone 2. I'm gonna boot it up and show you guys how it looks like when it's running. Alright guys, so now I got the Jelly Phone 2 all set up. So it comes with this wallpaper by default. Looks like a Mount Fuji wallpaper, and then I have a fingerprint sensor, right? So I can log in. Fingerprint sensor works fairly well. And yeah, this is Android 10 running on a super small screen. I know it's kind of weird because the last time we've seen 3-inch phones is maybe like a phone from 2008, right? Or 2009. And now we're seeing a phone with a 3-inch screen in 2020 and running the latest version of Android. So it is a little bit of something to wrap your head around, right? But yeah, everything seems pretty snappy for me so far, right? Apps open up pretty well. Of course, you can press. So there's two ways you can close the apps. Of course, you can use the Jelly Phone 2's kind of throwback button right here to go to the home screen, or you can do the Android 10 way, right, which is to lift up from the bottom. Also the iPhone way, right? Another thing we can do is go into something like the menu right here, right, and say you go into another menu, right? So let's click into apps, and then the two buttons down here. So it's kind of switched around or reversed from what I expected, but the one on the right is to go back, right? One on the right is to go back, and then the one on the left is to open up the menu switcher, just like you have on old Android phones, right? So you can go back like that. So I can go to my calendar right here. Yes, Google Calendar. All right, and then I can either go back like this, or I can go home, or I can, use it as standard. So these are all really standard Android functions. It's just like I wanted to show you guys kind of the throwback kind of menu interface down here at the bottom, which we haven't really seen in Android phones since like 2012 or 2013, right? Like way back in the day, like all the Android phones had this kind of interface. So it's kind of a throwback for me at least. And that's pretty much it. Alright, let's check out YouTube, see how YouTube works out on this thing. And also I'm going to test the speakers too. I'm going to up the speakers to full. Then I'm going to take a look at one of my videos. Let's take a look at the Cyberpunk 2077 video I did. Sure. And yeah, this is the YouTube experience on a 3-inch display. Oops. I mean, it is what you expect, right? Oh yeah, this part are glitched up. Yeah, see? People don't believe me when I tell them that Cyberpunk 2077 has issues on PC, because everyone else apparently runs it fine. But for me, it's been glitching up and the textures don't load and stuff. And yes, I do have an SSD and I have an RTX 2070, so I have no idea why this is going on.
I can't even call Jackie, he doesn't pick up. Jackie doesn't
oh, yeah, this is when
up.
a few bugs and glitches happen in the game. It's pretty funny, actually.
Look, I'm hitting this person.
So the sound is actually surprisingly better than I thought for a phone of this size, right? It's a 3-inch phone, right? I wouldn't expect the speakers to be that great. I can hear it pretty clearly though.
Dance. Oh, he's dead.
I mean, I can hear, yeah, I can hear the sound and everything pretty clearly, actually. Pretty surprising. Better than I expected.
He's gonna die soon.
This is, yeah.
Oh, dead.
Yep, better than I expected, actually, honestly, the speakers and stuff. I mean, obviously it's not the best speakers I ever heard from a phone, right? It's not the LG V60 or anything like that, or the Razer Phone 2. But, I mean, better than I would expect for a phone of this size and this price. So, anyways, guys, that's some YouTube videos on the Jelly Phone 2. We can pull down from the top to access notifications. I mean, this is all pretty standard Android 10 stuff anyways, but it is all here working functionally as you would expect. No slowdowns or anything. I did notice that they install a lot of this pre-installed app stuff, and it's kind of like bloatware. So like this wireless emergency alerts, trackback, SOS, NFC car things. What is this, student mode? I don't know what that is. Toolbox. A lot of this stuff is pre-installed, and I'm not really sure, yeah, what I would use it for, but I'm just showing you guys. This is what comes pre-installed: notebook and remote. So you can use this to control, I guess, your IR devices or something like that. Yeah. So, oh yeah, an FM radio. I guess if you connect the antenna or you connect the headphone, right? If you connect earphones or headphones, you can use it as an antenna for the FM radio. That's also kind of an old school feature, actually. Sound recorder, comes built in with something like that. Yeah, there's just a few apps that they throw in that Unihertz throws in, I guess. I would consider it bloatware, though. The SIM tool as well, right? SIM toolkit, yeah. I would consider these kind of things bloatware. It doesn't really come in most Android installations, but it's there. And then the programmable button right here. So, of course, you can custom pick whatever app this button launches, but by default, if you double click it, it's going to save a screenshot, right? So it took a screenshot right there. If you double click, and then if you long hold it, long press it, then it's going to turn on the flashlight. Yeah, and so that's by default what it's programmed to do, right? Screenshot and flashlight. Double click for screenshot. Yeah, there you go. All right, and then that's pretty much it. I guess I can show you guys the camera. I mean, it's really not going to be anything special. So this camera is pretty bad. I mean, this is a budget device, and Unihertz is not really known for making cameras. So, okay, you got normal, pro mode, where you can adjust the ISO auto exposure or something like that. Video mode, of course. Probably can't take 4K, I guess. Time lapse. You have all the usual mode. No panorama, I don't think. And then you have the 8 megapixel selfie camera here, which again looks like it came from a phone in 2014. So do not expect any good camera performance out of this. What else can we do here? Oh. Anti-shake, self-timer, picture size, ZSD. Okay. Key mode. Okay. Yeah. I guess, it's flash as well, obviously, but anyways, don't expect anything good out of this device. I'm just going to take one picture here. Okay. And then let's take a look. Okay. Well, I guess my hand was in the way. Let's try again. Oh. Okay. All right. So yeah, we got a picture right here. It's really not that great. Something that you would expect out of a phone from 2014 or 2015, I suppose. But that's really it. The camera's really nothing to talk about. I mean, you're not going to buy this for the camera. It has a capable camera. It's going to be better than the Jelly Phone 1's camera. That's not really a high bar to me anyways. And yeah, I mean, basically the reason why you would buy this phone is because you want a really small device, really small portable device that runs the latest version of Android, and that's more updated than the Jelly Phone 1, right? More powerful, got more RAM, certainly got more storage space, plus you got a micro SD card slot, right? And has a headphone jack, so you can use this for listening to music as well. So that's actually some pretty good functionality there, right? So for people who really want a small device to listen to that kind of stuff with, I mean, think about your old music players or something like that. They had really small displays, right? Like a 2.8-inch display. Remember the old MP3 players back in the day? You could just use the Unihertz Jelly 2. It's like something like that, right? It has built-in 128 gigs of storage, which is a lot. And then you have a micro SD card slot to expand that even more. Then you got a headphone jack, which I'm not sure about the DAC in this thing. It's probably not that great, but still, you can make do with this as a pretty decent music player, I guess, given the size, right? Or if you just want like a really small device, right? And that works out too. It's really small, really portable. Although I have to say something about the thickness of this device. You look how thick it is, right? So that's something that you will feel like, it feels like a small pebble in the pocket, I guess. It's definitely not thin, that's for sure. So if you want to do a comparison, actually, this is kind of amazing. I have an LG Wing right here. LG Wing is one of the biggest devices I have, one of the biggest phones I have, actually. And I believe, and keep in mind, the LG Wing has two screens, right? It has two screens, and it has a case on. Jelly Phone 2, thicker. It's thicker than the LG Wing with the case with two screens. So, I mean, it goes to show you just how thick the Jelly Phone 2 is, even though the dimensions are small, right? So obviously it's a small phone. It's just kind of like a pebble, right? It's not exactly thin. So it's kind of like it's like a small pebble, I guess. But for people who really want to carry around like a really small, capable phone, I guess this one can definitely do it, right? Some people commented on my Xperia XC1 compact video, right? Is there really any better small phone out there on the market with a headphone jack, right? I want to say no, because the iPhone 12 mini doesn't have a headphone jack. Neither does the iPhone SE, second one that came out. And neither do any of the other really small phones by Android manufacturers. But this phone is actually smaller and it has a headphone jack. So if you're really looking for the smallest and up-to-date Android device with a headphone jack, then the Jelly Phone 2 could be it, right? There really isn't that many competitors. If you're looking for a small Android phone running the latest version of Android with a headphone jack, well, and it's a budget one, right? You can only pay $160 for it. Why not, right? It's pretty decent. So yeah, that's the Jelly Phone 2, guys. And again, for size comparison, my iPhone 12 mini, and then the LG Wing, which is massive by comparison. What a behemoth. So I would recommend it to people who, if you're looking for a small Android device on the market, and maybe you don't like to get an iPhone, right? And maybe there's no good small Android phone options out there, right? Especially ones with a headphone jack. And then, and if you really want something really portable, right? I mean, this screen might be too small for most people. Probably it's too small for most people, right? So it's 3 inches. Probably not going to be your primary phone. But as a secondary phone, and for people who just really, really want a small device, this is probably the way to go, right? The Jelly Phone 2 by Unihertz. Anyways, guys, that's it. That's the Jelly Phone 2 and my first impressions of it. I think it is pretty good secondary device. I think I also did a comparison between the Palm phone and the Jelly Phone 1, but obviously this one is going to be better than both of those. So if you're looking for a small like secondary phone, then yeah, there it is. The Jelly Phone 2, guys. That's it. Thanks for watching.